Hey guys, it's Erica and today I am here to do a tutorial on how I created my removable washi dashboards for the Hobonichi weeks. I originally did this in my A6 Stalogy and I did it on sticker paper, and then I actually had one giant sheet of sticker paper with washi on it, and then I stuck it on and then I cut it out. And I really like it, and I like that it's on removable sticker paper because, as you can see, I can just peel it right up if I don't love it. And so I decided to do the same thing in my weeks, but when I tried to do a full page, it didn't work out so well when I tried to fold it in half, so then I ended up cutting it in half, which I will show you what I mean by all of this here in a minute. But essentially, I created a washi dashboard using all of the Harry Potter washi that I had, but as you can see, the color scheme does not go well together. So I decided I'm going to remove this and create a new dashboard. And so I thought I would show you how I did that. And so the washi I chose to use today are actually these Simply Gilded washis right here. Actually, I'm missing one. There you go. And I'm going to do it in this order. So I'll have pink, white, a patterned, and then pink, white, and then a patterned, and then I'll repeat the pattern. And I wanted to do that for here, and since I already created this using removable sticker paper, I can just pull this right off with no damage, which is fantastic. So if you guys want to see how to create my washi dashboard, then let's get started. Okay, so to start off, you're gonna want removable matte sticker paper. That's the whole trick to this. You don't have to do it this way. You can always just apply the washi directly on here, or you could use a regular piece of paper and use removable tape. I have the removable Tombow adhesive roller, and so you can use that as well if you don't have sticker paper. But what I'm using is the Online Labels removable matte sticker paper. You can get this on Amazon, and it's actually one of the popular papers that a lot of shop owners use for their stickers. Then of course you're gonna want all the washi tape that you're gonna want to use, and I always like to set mine up in the order that I plan to use it. So this is the pattern that I'm gonna create. You don't have to have a ruler and a pencil to do this, but I like to mark my sticker paper in advance so that I only make enough so that I'm not wasting too much washi. So that's what I have these two for. And then of course you're gonna want a pair of scissors, or in my case, I'm using a guillotine paper cutter. All the items that I'm mentioning will either be linked down below, or they'll all be in my Amazon storefront, which will be linked in the bottom of the description, so you guys can check out all those items, because a lot of this stuff, like this, my sticker paper, this, I got them all on Amazon. Okay, so first of all, I don't want to completely cover this entire sheet with washi because that's just incredibly wasteful. So we're gonna just measure from edge to edge. I'm gonna measure a little bit more than the inside cover so that when I cut it down to size, I have the excess to cut off, because if I try to do my washi exactly edge to edge, if I mess up, then I lose a lot of space, and then I might end up having to start over. So I need approximately 7 2/16, but instead I'm gonna do 7 1/4 just to give myself a little bit of extra. And then the height, I'm gonna do 7 1/2. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure this out at 7 1/4, and we'll mark this so that I'm not using too much washi, because that's just wasteful. And then we'll do 7 1/4 this way, sorry. Hold on, I just did 7 1/4. Yes, and then we'll do 7 1/2 this way. 7 1/2. And then I'll mark. So then I know where I want to stop my washi tape. So this is the square that I want to cover with washi tape. I hope you guys can see that. Now to get started, what I like to do is I like to fold this in half and meet it up so I kind of know where the center of my Hobonichi is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half. And then we're just going to go in here with the Hobonichi and make sure that I kind of lined it up properly. So if I put this inside the spine, will this meet up to the edge? Yes, with a little bit of extra, which is perfect. And then same thing here, you see where the line meets right on the edge of the sticker paper. So we know that we have a good size. And then you can do the same thing with your bottom line to make sure you have enough excess on the bottom and it lines up nice. So we had just enough plus a little extra in case we mess up. Okay, so this is the pattern that I want, and I actually want the dark color to be in the middle. You can do completely straight across, you can do vertical. I like to do it at an angle because when you do straight across, the moment you start getting wonky, it becomes very noticeable. So, I am so sorry, my camera is tripping out. So I'm gonna do this at a diagonal with this as my center. So I'm gonna start this in the middle and we'll work from there. So let's get started. I'm gonna do it in a diagonal like I said because it's less noticeable if you mess up when it's at an angle. And then that's why you need your scissors to cut your washi. I don't make it clean on the edges because we're gonna cut off this edge anyway. You just wanna make sure that your washi is flat. So we've got these and I'm gonna work my way up, or you can work your way down. Since I know it's a repeating pattern, then I know this one would go underneath while this one would go above. So let's go ahead and work up. So we'll go with this guy next. And I don't wanna get my washis confused. And I did alternate between skinny versus thick and skinny versus thick. So I have 10, well, I think that's 10 millimeter and then 7.5. And then the way that I line up my washi is I start on the very edge and I literally like bump it. Like it kind of catches. Can you see how the washi catches on the other washi? And that's how I line mine up. So then I put down a little bit at a time and then I do the same thing. I kind of just pull it down and bump it up against the edge until it kind of, see that? It catches. And that's how I line up my washi. So that you know you're not going to have any gaps and it helps you create a straighter line. And I do like 1 to 2 inches at a time. Any more than that and you're probably going to get a wonky line. And again, like I mentioned earlier, all the washi I'm using are Simply Gilded. I don't own a ton of Simply Gilded, but these are the ones that I use. Okay, so these two are done. And I'm going to do the same with the third color. This one is a thinner washi. This is pink with gold foil. Again, I come to the edge and I just kind of bump it up to the edge of the other washi, and you can see it like lifts because it's like bumped up against it. So I know that it's right on the edge. So then I can lay it flat. And then again, do a little bit more. And you just take your time and you hold it tight. You hold it as taut as you can without ripping it. And you just bump it up against the edge. And then when you see that it's flush, then you can lay it down. It's super simple. I know some people were asking, they're like, you know, I have a really hard time lining up my washi. I have a hard time lining up the washi. But by doing this bump edge technique, it allows me to know that I'm actually laying it flat, and then it prevents gaps between your washi. And the nice thing about using sticker paper or even like printer paper with adhesive on the back of it is that you have a white background, because if I were to put the white washi directly on my Hobonichi cover interior, you're going to see this hobo pattern underneath the washi. It's going to show right through. So I like having the white sticker paper because it keeps the background really clean. And again, what I'm doing is I'm extending beyond the line. So everywhere I have washi tape, I make sure I'm just beyond the line so that when I cut this straight, I have a nice clean edge. If you put it right up to the edge, if you need to cut a little bit extra, then you might not have enough material. So I like to go just a little bit past the edge to give myself that extra space. And then this is a Simply Gilded washi right here, the one that I'm putting down with the unicorns and cakes. But it was actually a Happy Scrappy birthday collab. It was part of Happy Scrappy's August 2018 birthday subscription box. And it is stunning. It is literally like my all-time favorite washi. It has Simply Gilded bows, plus foil, plus a unicorn cake. Guys, life. And then I'm stacking my washi on top of each other so I know which ones I've used and which ones I haven't used. And since I know that I'm going from fat, skinny, fat, I know that the next one's a skinny in case I like get out of order. And so it helps me kind of keep my washi straight. Again, I line it down on this end and then I do my bump. Line and bump. And then flat. I know this is very repetitive. So at this point, now that you guys have seen my technique of the bump, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward the rest of this top section. Okay, I did want to mention when you get to the edges to always go beyond the paper. Always extend beyond the paper so that you ensure you fully cover up this entire square so that when you go to cut it, you're not going to have weird gaps. And then now I've reached the end of my washi rolls, so now I'm going to repeat the pattern. So dark skinny, white, skinny pink, unicorn, skinny white, and then pink. Because now that we've completed the pattern, I'm going to repeat it. And then same thing when I go down, I'm going to go and repeat the pattern. So I'm just going to keep the washis all in the same order. Okay, I've completed my top section and I'm going to carefully pick this up off of my work surface. So I don't want to, oops, do that, which is fine. I can reposition it. Before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and cut off some of this excess washi just to clean it up a little bit. I only need a little bit on the edge. I don't need that much on the edge. So I'm just going to make sure that it's all adhered here first. And then I'm just going to go in and trim it. This is to help prevent it from sticking to the board, kind of like what it was just doing when I adjust this so I can start working on the bottom half. So that I reduce the risk of messing it up even more later, because when I was pulling it off the board, you know, there's a potential that you could accidentally shift your washi and then you're not lined up anymore. So here I'm just doing a little bit of cleanup so then we can finish the bottom half. You don't have to do this. I'm doing this for my own sanity and for my own error prevention so that I don't, like this. So I don't mess up what I've already got going on. Okay, so now that we've cleaned that up a bit, we're gonna go ahead and continue to do the bottom, and essentially we're gonna do the same pattern but from the top down. So instead of going from bottom up, I'm now gonna go top down, which I'm missing one. There you go. And I'm just gonna repeat the pattern essentially. Okay guys, now we are at our end and I can still see the pencil markings and you can see we've completed our pattern. So just for my own sake, what I'm doing is I'm taking just the tip of my tip of my scissors and just lightly marking where I had created that crease earlier. Because if I just fold this over, it's gonna curl. The washi tape's actually gonna bulge in the center. So by pushing it down as I'm lifting, I'm forcing the washi to do the opposite of what it wants to do, which is curl, but by pushing it down, it keeps it down. And I'm doing this because I want to try to fold this over and make sure it sits right. So I'm gonna try to keep it all as one giant sticker and put it in here. Very much like what I did in my Stylogy, which is one giant sticker. You can always cut this in half if you're worried that it's not gonna work out. I did that with my Harry Potter. I could not get it to lay flat. They all like bunched up in the center, right in the spine, and so I ended up just cutting it in half and then laying them as two different pieces. But for this video, I'm gonna try to keep it all together. So now with either, you can use a pair of scissors, but I'm gonna use my paper cutter. This is a Tonic Studio guillotine paper cutter. And I'm just gonna cut right where I created the lines. So then I get a nice crisp edge and clean off this extra washi. And I like it because it has this holder so you can put pressure down on the paper so it doesn't slide around. And I'm just gonna clean up this edge very, very lightly. And same thing with the top. Actually the top, yeah, the top does need to be cleaned. I was gonna say maybe I don't, but now that I'm looking at it, it probably does. Okay. Awesome. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this again. I just want to make sure that this doesn't bulge because I know it wants to. It really wants to. I'm going to fold it in half again. And we're going to look to see how much excess we have. So looking here, we probably have, I'd say, 1/4 inch excess. And I'm just gonna verify that with my ruler. And yeah, it's like just at 1/4 inch. And then the actual inside maybe has, I'd say, like 2 millimeters. So not much, not much. So I'm gonna do some very tiny trimming while it's folded in half so that it's evenly split, because I wanna make sure that I don't cut off too much. Here, we can look on the other side. And we want to cut this in half evenly. So I'm going to do this while it's folded. if you decide to cut this in half, go ahead and cut it in half now and then line up the stickers and then cut them together, either with your scissors or your guillotine. But this way it ensures that your stickers will continue to line up and that they're even. And I'm just gonna cut a little bit less than what looked like 2 millimeters, just to get them nice and lined up. And then we can look and just, for me, I feel it's easier to cut a little less versus a little more, because if you cut off too much, then you have an edge, and some people don't want that. So then I need to cut off 1/4 of an inch off the entire length, and I think I want to cut off a little on both ends. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna cut a little on both sides. And again, I'm keeping them together so they stay the same size. If I cut this in half, I would have cut them together and then cut them together so that they stay even. In my case, I just folded it in half. So we're gonna check again. And it looks like it's gonna fit okay. Let's see. It's still a little tall. So we're just gonna cut off a little bit more. Let's see, where do we wanna cut off? We'll cut off a little bit off the top. That should be actually just a hair, and that should be good. It's still a little tall. Man, I thought that would have been perfect. We're getting there though, we're getting there. Just a smidge more. And again, like I said, you can do this with scissors. If you do it with scissors, you might as well use a pencil and mark it and then do the cutting. But since I have a guillotine and it's really quick, it's really not that important for me to mark. What you could do is just fit it in here. Take your pencil, let's say this is too big, like it's hanging off the edge. You could take your pencil and literally draw a line. I'm sorry, I just realized I was off. If this is too big, like it's hanging off the bottom, let's say, then just take your pencil, draw a line on the back of your sticker paper, and then you would have the line and you would know exactly where to cut. In this case, it's a little big, just a hair, but I think it's almost perfect, and I'm gonna leave it as is. So now that this is ready to go, we're gonna mount it. So this is on removable matte sticker paper, so all I have to do is remove the backing, and we have essentially a giant washi sticker. And the way I like to line this up is to put the center of this directly into the spine, like so that it fits nice and snug, and then work from the center out. Whoa! Thankfully this is removable matte sticker paper. So I'm just gonna line it up with the spine. You see, there's the spine, there's the fold of my sticker paper. Just gonna settle it right in there, and very gently from the spine out, I'm just gonna lay it down. Just like that. Same thing, just gonna from the center and move out. And boom. We're done! I'm so happy how this turned out. When I did my Stalogy, instead of trimming a little at a time and a little at a time, I actually mounted it too much, like oversized, and then I just took scissors, and from the back side I just cut around the edges, which is how I got such a perfect edge to edge fit. But that took a lot of work and it ended up being a little rough, but this ended up being much easier to do. So that is how I create a removable washi dashboard. Let me know if you guys have any comments or questions down below, and if I mentioned anything and forgot to link it, please let me know in the comments. And if you guys enjoyed this video, of course, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below because then it helps me with my viewers and views. And of course, subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys!